What's up, y'all? Sparta here. For this video, I want to talk iPhone SE 2022. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do a good amount of testing on this phone because I just can't. I have to end up giving it up. But I do want to talk about how I feel about it so far with what I've been doing. And how I feel Apple has overall controlled their quote unquote budget iPhone, right? And how I feel they've handled it. The SE has been around since, for a while, with the iPhone SE that looked like the iPhone 5S. That obviously the one that still had the headphone jack, then the one that obviously looks identical to this one, which are both modeled after the iPhone 8, basically. And I feel like this experiment is something that's actually pretty nice because it gives Apple some leeway to reuse old parts but still put decent amount of power into the phone. So yeah, let's get into this. So I'll get my gripes. I wish there was a plus model. That's my biggest gripe. Battery life hasn't been that bad. I really haven't had that much to experience with it, but so far with gaming, with the little gaming that I've done, playing Marvel Future Revolution, I don't know why it keeps. I really hate Apple's auto brightness. It really ticks me off. But the overall, like Marvel Future Revolution, for example, it's a game. It's an MMORPG. It's very demanding, battery intensive, makes a lot of phones sweat, and this phone is no exception. It doesn't ever really get choppy, but the phone gets very hot. And the A15 in this phone, I feel, is pretty well handled. They probably clocked a few of the cores down. That's something that you're probably gonna have to do if the phone is smaller and you have a smaller battery and things like that, compared to something like the 13 Pros and all that stuff, the iPhone 13s. I'll just say that this phone feels very fast, fluid. I'm turning this auto brightness, man. Like, why? Auto brightness. Turn off. Like, jeez. Did you? What was I about to say? Crap. I fucking forgot. The overall feel of the phone is nice. I really do prefer having something like Touch ID over Face ID, simply because it's just easier to have it out of my pocket and be like this, and it's already open, right? That's something that's very nice. Would I use this as a gaming and media platform? Not necessarily. I feel like the screen and the phone in general is too small for me personally, so it's just something that I don't necessarily feel is a focus for this phone. The camera can do 4K 60, so that's nice. You guys can see a sample of it. I think it was one of my most recent videos. I do say it in the video, but it is a 12 megapixel sensor on the back here. It's not the same size as something like the One Mark III here, so you're not going to get nearly as much background blur or anything like that. I haven't really been able to test the focusing like that. I guess I could do that live. So come here, Rogue. Come here. She ain't gonna stand. I'm gonna have to hold her. So obviously it does a decent job at tracking the face, and it doesn't seem, when I get close enough, it doesn't seem to lose focus. Let me just take a picture there. Very fast at taking the picture, and it doesn't seem like it's losing any detail at all, so that's very nice. The problem is, with photos, there's not really a problem when it comes to focusing for phones. For the most part, it always tends to happen in video. That's what the problem was with the 12 Pro Max. You guys see me document that. Or was it the 13? It was both are practically the same damn phone. So, but the 12 Pro Max, I'll just say it was the 12 Pro Max, where a lot of people had focusing issues, and I had a little bit of focusing issues. Not nearly as much as everybody else was saying, but it made me dock that phone down in terms of video because it just had focusing issues, and I just couldn't use it for that at all because it was just bad. I feel like the focusing on this phone is far more controlled, probably because it has a smaller sensor, and Apple it doesn't have to. Apple's software algorithms don't have to sit there and try and focus on something and maybe get it. I feel like it's done a pretty decent job at staying in focus. But yeah. Overall, I do feel like the camera on this phone is good. I can't really talk about the selfie camera. It's a 7 megapixel one, but it honestly looks decent enough. Decent enough for phone calls and stuff or video calls. I don't necessarily think someone can be out here and say that it's the worst thing ever. But overall, I feel like it'll serve you just fine if you just need it for FaceTime or whatever the hell you use. The overall form factor of the phone, despite the fact that I do think it's small, it is nice. It's comfortable to hold. Really no issues there. It's really weird with iOS. This is on 15.5. How there's differences, how they have to have differences because of the two different screen designs that they have for the 13s now and the SE, I guess, where they just have the old school iPhone look where you swipe down from the top and you get your notifications, you swipe up from the bottom, you get your control center. I honestly prefer that over having to do right or left. It honestly was something that always ticked me off about the 13 Pros or whatever, is that it's not comfortable ergonomically to do crap like that. But overall, I do feel like this is a pretty well balanced phone in terms of ergonomics. If you have smaller hands, this will definitely be good for you. For me personally, it's fine. But yeah, the red on this phone honestly looks pretty good too. The red frame is nice. Something that you don't really see a lot. You don't see a lot of red phones anymore since HTC got, DDT'd out of the market essentially. This phone is probably the only time you'll get a red phone in the market these days, which kind of sucks, especially if you don't like iPhones. But if you do, here you go, I guess. But overall, aside from it having a lightning port, not a USB-C port, I don't have much in terms of issues with it, aside from it being tiny. The battery life hasn't been terrible compared to the last iPhone SE, which was just bad in my opinion. It was just not well handled at all. Whereas I feel like Apple has done a far better job at making sure the battery is far more tempered, especially with the more powerful A15 in this phone. That is definitely, if you know the A15, you know it's a pretty damn thirsty and hot chip. So the fact that I haven't had any sort of overheating issues the past few days is actually very nice. But that's all I really want to say with this video. Pretty nice phone if you're into the Apple ecosystem or looking to get into it without having to spend exuberant amount of money, and you want something like Touch ID. I'd say get the phone. That way you don't have to get a years old iPhone 8 Plus or whatever, just so you can get a form factor like this in a bigger size or something like that. It's fine. I don't really have any sort of issues with it whatsoever. This is Sparta. Thanks for watching. Thanks for support. Hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, whatever time of day it is in the area. Like the video, if you like it, show people that are interested, and have a good one.